The Bargain Bin Gamer would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which this show is created. We extend our respects to elders past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people enjoying this program today.
Double T Media.
You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Halloween. It's a thing. So let's do an episode about it. This is The Bargain Bin Gamer. Welcome back to The Bargain Bin Gamer, a Double T Media production here on the BQN network of podcasts. I am your host, as always, Davey Willett, and I go by the pronouns he and him. The Bargain Bin Gamer is the show where I play the cheapest and absolute dog shittest games out there so that you, my friends, don't have to. In the hope that maybe I'll find some hidden gems along the way. It's October, which means Halloween. Now, in the 90s, when I grew up here in Australia, Halloween was not something that was really celebrated. It was just something that meant that The Simpsons were about to put out a new Treehouse of Horror special. But I'm an old man these days. I'm almost 40, and the kids here love themselves a little bit of Halloween now. So, we are going to check out some spooky Halloween games here in Scary Bargains. Today's scary game is called I Lived Under Your House, which is coincidentally the same thing I said to try and swoon my first boyfriend. I Live Under Your House is from the acclaimed developer Spookle McBoogle. Don't be surprised if you haven't heard of them. It is a game described on Steam as being a point-and-click visual novel about a creature living underground. I will add that it is a highly sexualized creature living underground for the following reasons. 1. They get off on sharp stones. 2. They get off on eating their own mother. And 3, they don't enjoy intercourse with the spirit who lives at the entrance to their cave. Intercourse that I am assuming by the text here is mandatory for entry or exit into that cave. So, our little mini sex pest, let's call them Roxy, happily lives out their days squeezing through tight tunnels and occasionally eating visitors to the forest. Their existence seems tortured by the torment of various individuals who harass them in their sleep. Small price to pay for this underground paradise. Until one day the beautiful Marie builds a human house on top of Roxy's subterranean dwelling. This drives Roxy mad, and they do what anyone would do in such circumstances. Roxy relentlessly stalks Marie. There is a twist. Roxy falls in love with Marie and is confused when Marie doesn't respond to the gift of a human skull in her bedroom. What's wrong with her? Instead, Marie and her brother Mark trap Roxy in the basement and discuss whether to dismember them. More fool them for not choosing that mutilation, because Roxy escapes the basement and wanders aimlessly through the forest. Marie and Mark catch up again with Roxy, trapping our hero in a pentagram of salt. It turns out Roxy killed their father, and they have tracked them down for sweet revenge. Sorry, spoiler alert here. The dumbass siblings forget candles, which were essential to be able to destroy Roxy, so Roxy, being ever the opportunist, kills them in ways that I am sure were suitably gruesome and terrifying. The end. There were some choices earlier on in the game which I am guessing could have led to alternate endings, but I was not that interested in seeing what else Roxy got up to. Eating the smug Marie and her dorky brother Mark was all the ending I could have hoped for, to be honest. The gameplay goes from being a point-and-click fair when you are sexually slipping around Roxy's holes in the ground, to a more traditional first-person view when stalking their prey. A first-person perspective, though, that controls like a dump truck, which is another reason I have not wanted to indulge in a second playthrough. The graphics are washed out greens and greys, and the atmosphere is actually genuinely kind of creepy. So look, for the $2.95, look, I've done a lot worse for a lot less, so check it out. I Live Under Your House is $2.95 on Steam, and look, I'm sorry to say it's not a hidden gem. Well, that was the first spooky bargain game that I have in store for you. Keep an eye out here on YouTube or wherever you get your audio podcasts from. I've got a few more spooky bargains coming up for you in the coming weeks. That's it for today, though. Don't forget that this show is part of a much larger network of podcasts called the BQN. You can help support this and other BQN programs by becoming a patron of the network over on patreon.com/BQN. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this series on YouTube. Give this video a thumbs up, or make sure that you leave a 5-star review wherever you get your audio podcasts from, because it does help others find the show. That's it for now, and until next time, make all your games be bargain games.
What shows are on BQN, you ask? Well, here's a rundown of some podcasts you might be interested in. All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast covering all of Trek, hosted by Amy, Mark, Christos, and Kelvin. Bargain Bin Gamer, a YouTube show hosted by Davey, a self-proclaimed gamer who specializes in reviewing and showcasing affordable video games. If you're lost in the Delta Quadrant, check out The Captain's Couch, a Star Trek Voyager podcast hosted by Jeremiah sitting on Janeway's Ready Room couch. Cinema Z, a film discussion and review podcast showcasing films you probably missed but should definitely check out, hosted by Mark, Matt, and Laz. Beam Aboard the Galaxy Class, a Star Trek Next Generation podcast covering all of TNG, hosted by Amy, Joe, Rhea, and Kevin. History with the Zilagis, a snippet of historical events from around the world, hosted by Chrissy and Jason. For the newest Trek coverage, check out Infinite Diversity, hosted by Chrissy and Thad. Test your Trek knowledge with Trexperts Quiz, a Star Trek quiz show hosted and written by Davey. Union Federation, covering all things Star Trek and the Orville, which we all know is really a Star Trek show, hosted by Kyle, Kevin, Amy, and Haley. Spill the Tea with What's the Tea, Bev? A Trek current events and fan interview show hosted by Christos. And for our Patreon members, we have The Hive Mind, BQN's monthly roundtable discussion with hosts and listeners. It's Green, a cornucopia of topics hosted by Mark. And Amy's Math Moments, a quick look at math moments in Star Trek, hosted by Amy. We know you have a choice of podcasts to choose from, and we thank you for listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Double T Media.